Welcome to the Spunky Spirit Podcast. I'm your host, psychic medium Carrie Muggs. This is where we learn all things spirit, everything from spiritual gifts, awakenings, ghosts, aliens, and starseeds. Nothing is untouchable, but always fun and spunky. I am honored to be on this spiritual journey with you, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hello and welcome to this episode of Spunky Spirit. I am your host, psychic medium Carrie Muggs, and today we are going to talk about trusting your intuition. So I know we've tapped on this a little bit before, but today I'm kind of going to go in, share some experiences, and talk about how it is so important to trust your intuition. And I know sometimes you're like, I know I've trusted it before and I was wrong. Here's the thing. Your intuition is there to protect you. And so if you make decisions based on your intuition, then it's somehow going to protect you anyways. So even if you're wrong on it, or even if it was slightly off, it's still there to protect you. Your intuition or your gut feeling is there to protect you. So always, always honor it. It means there is something there. There's something going on and you need to look into it, or you need to continue to look into it. So sometimes it can be an anxiety, but sometimes it can start, it can be sometimes. So the difference between intuition and anxiety is intuition comes just out of the blue, like this is what's happening, or you need to check on this, or this is what's going on, or you have this weird feeling when you meet somebody. But a lot of times that intuition can turn into anxiety, because anxiety comes with feelings. Anxiety comes with worry and stress and, oh my gosh, lots and lots of like intrusive thoughts, because the intuition can, so this is where it gets a little tough, because intuition is just like, do it. There's no emotion. There's just this small voice. Just there's something going on. There's something here. There's something. And I could feel that when my first marriage, I knew something was off. I knew something didn't feel right. And I would feel weird when I would meet certain women that would work with him. Now, that intuition, though, kind of turned into anxiety, because then it was something I was constantly worried about, constantly stressing over. And so things that come up, or things that intuitively come up, can be turned into anxiety. And spirit doesn't mean to do that. It's just that's how we work as humans. That's how, if we feel like there's something going on that's bad, then we'll kind of dwell on it, or we'll kind of worry about it. And that's okay too, because until it gets to be so intrusive that you can't function. And so that's when you need to take a time out, and you need to kind of like step back and wonder, ask spirit, is what's really going on here? Or what's really, what's my intuition? What's my imagination? What am I creating that's worse? What is the fear and what is the intuition? Because it's really hard, especially when you go through like life changes or relationship changes, or that's really hard to really decipher between your intuition and your anxiety, because sometimes your intuition and those gut feelings can turn into anxiety, or turn into worry or stress. And so just know that that's normal, and it's really hard to figure it out. Even for the best psychics and the best mediums, it's hard. I even had some incidences that happened last week that I had a feeling, I had an intuition, I had a gut feeling, and I kind of just was like, no, they would never do that. That would never happen. And then I just kept thinking, and then it just started to like constantly bug me. And I had to rearrange my thinking. I had to not let it have intrusive thoughts, or not let it bug me. And then once I tried to figure that out and process that and figure out how it's not going to, I can't let it affect me like that, the fear, then I validated. Something happened and it validated. Somebody came through and said, this is what's going on. And so then it was easy. It was like, okay, done. So it was kind of that hard, like long drawn out stress, because I feel like, especially when it comes to relationships with friends, family, relationships with siblings, relationships are the hardest, because here's this thing, and this is kind of going into we always just think the best of people, right? We think the best of people. And unless we're going to talk a little bit about some shadow work right here. So I was reading this book called Not Nice, and it's awesome. And I don't remember the author, but I'll maybe post it in the links, because we are sometimes raised, when we're raised in some trauma, we feel like we have to be nice all the time. That's just what we're told. That's what we're taught. And so if we think sometimes we don't have to be nice, or we don't have to be nice to people, then it screws with our brain, right? It screws with us, but we have to have boundaries, and boundaries are there to protect. And our intuition tells us there's something up, so create boundaries. So even if I would be like, oh, they would never do that, or they would never say that, and I kind of like, but I just continued to have these intrusive thoughts about it, or have these intrusive things about it. So once I started to be like, okay, I got to process this. This is kind of messy. Then some validation started coming through other people. And I knew that I wasn't crazy, but at the same time, there's that, that one feeling. And I teach this all the time. Always trust your gut. Always trust your intuition. And I still have times when I'm like, gosh, is that just me? Or now when I'm doing readings for other people, then that's completely different. That's that I see things, and that those things come through. But when I am trying to figure out stuff for my own self, that's when it's a mess. That's when it's chaotic. That's when it's hard to process. So just know, when you're trusting your intuition on your own things, it can be kind of a mess. It can be kind of hard. And I want you to forgive yourself and give yourself some grace on this, especially when there's intuition about people mistreating you, or people not being nice to you, because we as people, those of you that are empaths and people pleasers and want to think the best of everybody, think, no, that's not going to happen, or no, that doesn't happen. And then we get sucked in, and it does happen, and then we figure it out, and it's kind of too late, or it's already caused damage. So just know that if you have an instinct that something's up, it's more than likely something is up. And then it can turn into intrusive thoughts, and it can turn into anxiety. So just kind of watch that, because you need to honor that, but you also need to stay healthy, and you also need to combat the intrusive thoughts and the anxiety and the intrusive thoughts and the mental health part of it. So it's kind of like, it's one of those things where it can cause some stress. Your intuition can cause some stress, but you really got to trust that there's something going on here, and you got to kind of set aside the stress and the anxiety and really listen. And when it comes to things like mostly relationships, things like jealousy, stuff like that, it's kind of hard, or comparing, or things like that. It is kind of hard. So I want you to know you don't have to be perfect, and I want you to give yourself some grace, and you can think bad things about people sometimes. That's what shadow work is. So I used to say that shadow work, so I just want you to know that you can always change your mind. So stuff that I say 2 or 3 weeks ago can change because of experiences or things that happen in readings, that I can be like, oh, wow, I was wrong on that, or things have changed. Lots of, mediumship in the beginning has completely changed now with, different kinds of styles that mediums have. So things can change. This spiritual stuff is not cut neatly and tidy in a box. It's all messy and chaotic, and nobody knows really how it works. So shadow work, I used to think that it was like a trauma, that something right now would make me mad, and then I would be like, okay, where did that come from? I'd have to go figure it out, and then I would have to process that past thing. But that's not entirely all of shadow work. That is some of it. But shadow work is loving who you are regardless of your bad thoughts, especially towards other people. Because I was brought, and my belief system was, you have to be nice. You have to please people. You have to be nice. You have to go out of your way. You have to sacrifice who you are to help other people. And that is not how it works. So I'm going to do a little Freudian, I think is what it, but Freudian on psychology. There's the id and your super ego and your ego. The id is your child. Now, this is coming from the book that I read. So it was kind of an aha moment for me. But your id is your inner child that wants to do all the bad things. The child that doesn't want to share. The child that wants to yell and scream. The child that wants to think bad thoughts about people. Think that people are mean and not be nice to them. The child that wants to yell out once they have been hurt or hit. The person, the id personality inside you is your shadow. That's your shadow. Now, your super ego over on this side is the nice person, the one that was taught that you have to always be nice all the time. You have to always do the best you can. You have to get good grades. Everything that you were taught, you have to be this person. And if you're this person over here, the id, then you're bad. You're labeled bad, and this person's labeled good. And then you've got your ego in the middle who's trying to balance both, trying to cover the id, because they're trying to make things, your ego's trying to balance and keep you safe, right? Keep you safe. And so the ego gets involved and balances out. And then the super ego, it says, be nice. You can't question. You can't speak up. You have to do all the things that make you normal and presentable to earth, right? You have to do all the things so people will like you. People will have to like you. And so what happens is the id over here gets neglected, and it gets frustrated, and it gets mad, and it gets all of these things because it's being ignored, right? All these bad things. So because you're just like, oh, I don't like this person, and I can't be like that because I have to be nice and I have to like everybody, and we all have to be one, and we all have to be together because we're all part of each other. And so I have to shove this over here, and I have to be super ego over here and be like, oh, I love everybody. Everybody's so nice. And this is how we are. But then there's some people that balance their ego and they still kind of stay in the id, and they're kind of mean and they're rude and they don't care what people think. But is that really a bad thing? Is it really a bad thing to kind of want to protect yourself, or they're just building boundaries, right? And so when you start to build some boundaries, that's when the ego's like saying, okay, we're going to protect, because super ego is just getting hammered and hammered and hammered. So we got to let id in a little bit to compensate. So I realized that you can have bad thoughts. You can have, as long as you don't hurt anybody, and as long as you don't like post it all over media, and you just have these thoughts, and you think, usually at the time, you think, I'm a bad person because I think these things. And honestly, you're not. Everybody thinks those things. Everybody has somebody they don't like. Everybody has somebody that's rubbed them the wrong way. Everybody has been hurt or broken up with or cheated on and have had these thoughts of getting revenge. Everybody has done this. But we hide it, and we go on to super ego and say we have to be nice. We have to do this all the time, 24/7. So he wrote in this book to get a shadow work diary. Because usually when you write in your diary or journal, like I would be like, oh, I write in my journal, but I would write things thinking someone's going to find this someday. So I can't be completely honest so I can't be my authentic self. Because if I wrote what I really felt about this moment, somebody's going to find this diary if I pass over or I transition, and I'm going to feel bad that they feel bad. So what I started doing is I started a little notebook, and every morning I write all the bad things that I come through, all the bad things that are just like, okay, I don't like this, and I am jealous of this, and this is frustrating to me, and I can't handle this, and I wish this person would stop doing this. And everything, all of my emotions, all of the stuff that I'm feeling, that's like id over here, my inner child screaming and yelling, is writing all this stuff down. And then I rip the pages out and I put them in the shredder because I don't want anybody to see that. And then it's so freeing because I vented, I got it out, and then my ego can be like, oh, this got out. This got out a little bit. And then I can realize my ego can be like, okay, I really don't like this. And I don't like how I'm being treated here. So I can build boundaries, and my super ego doesn't have to be super nice all the time. She can be like, you know what? I'm going to protect these egos and ids, and I'm going to start protecting and creating boundaries. Boundaries aren't to keep people out. Boundaries are to keep you safe. So if you have intuition and you know something's up, then you better follow it. Don't let it make you crazy, and don't let it, grab you by the horns and just and make you don't let it consume you. That's what I'm saying. Because when I was going through my divorce and I had this intuition, before I could validate all of the stuff I was thinking was happening, I did let it consume me. And I did want the revenge, and I did want all of those things. And I hated myself for it. I didn't want to be that person. And it was because I needed to have the proof, right? I needed to have proof that this was happening before I could leave, because I was crazy, and I didn't need proof. You know what? The relationship wasn't great as it was without all of that. So I didn't need proof to leave. And so I didn't need to find all that proof. I didn't need to make myself crazy. I could just go off my intuition and say, you know what? This isn't working for me. I want out. So instead, I worked for 1.5 years trying to figure out what was going on and all this stuff. And it made me mentally not okay. And now I'm working on all of that stuff that I did to myself. Not that he did to me, because I don't care about that, but what I did to myself, because I mentally was super nice to everybody, even the girls that I thought maybe were involved with him, because that's what I thought I had to be. And so I just want you to know that trusting your intuition, trust it. But there is a fine line between kind of getting scared and worried. You have to, if it's starting to cause you to have intrusive thoughts, and it's starting to make you question your mental health, get help, get counseling, maybe get on some medicine for a little bit. If you're not, maybe anything that you can do, whatever helps to get you through that moment. But if you're having a gut feeling, if you're like, okay, something is up, then something is up. And you need to honor that. You need to somehow honor it without all the stress and the anxiety and the intrusive thoughts, which is really, really hard, and sometimes not doable, because the intrusive thoughts and the anxiety will come. So it is spirit warning you. It is spirit telling you things. But sometimes, because of our situation or the mental health, we make it bigger than it is, right? I made it so huge back then. I made it such a big deal. It consumed me. It consumed every one of my days. And now I look back and I think, oh my gosh, I wasted so much energy on that. But you know what? I did what I did, and I love myself anyways, because that person did what they could to get through that moment. So that's what I'm telling you. Trust your gut. And if you just feel like it's a mess, or you feel like it's chaotic, and you feel like it's so hard, or there's something going on, process it, give yourself some grace, and know that there's no perfect way to get through hard things. There's no perfect way to get through hard things. And your intuition is just there to tell you something's not right here. Something needs to be fixed. There's no anxiety when intuition comes. There's just a feeling. There's just a feeling that something is off. You can create all of the anxiety that comes from that. And so that's where, and believe me, I know it's hard, because I can easily sit here and say, try to stop the intrusive thoughts, try to stop this. But you know what? Sometimes you can't. It consumes you. And so when it starts to do that, then ask for help. It's okay to ask for help, because you know what? Our child over here would love to ask for help. Kids all the time ask for help. But our super ego is like, no, I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to create something bad for them. I don't want to bug them. And our ego's going, okay, we got to give into this, and we got to give into this. How do we do it without rocking the boat and keeping us safe and not having anybody be mad? So put them all together and honor all three of them. Honor the id, the ego, and the super ego. Now, I could be totally blowing this out of the wrong way, but this is what I got when I was reading this book. This is what I got. This is what I got to help me. And I thought, you know what? If I'm getting this to help me, then I'm sure it's going to help other people out there too. Especially when I have readings all the time about things that are going on in marriages, things that are going on in relationships, and people think they're crazy. Things that are not just romantic relationships, other things like other relationships, sibling relationships, family relationships. And people think they're crazy. And I say, no, you trust your intuition. And then they trust their intuition, and it has its way of working out. It has a way of working out. I just want you to remember that it always has a way of working out. So I hope that helps you. Next week, I don't know if I'm going to be doing a podcast or not, a podcast episode, because the infection of the tumor is back. And I'm going to go in this week and get it completely removed. So last time they just cleaned it out. They just took the tumor and they were hoping that that was going to be done. But it has come back. The infection has come back. So we're going to go in and remove the tooth, remove it all. And so it'll be done. And that's another thing about my intuition. I thought this is not right. I feel like it's coming back. But I thought, no. They said my nasal looks good, but I just knew. And so we went in and we did see a little bit of an infection. And so we're going to go get it before it gets any worse. So next week, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a podcast. It depends on how I feel. So I'll keep you posted about that. So I do have an event on May 16th. It is all sold out, but I just want you to know this is an event where I do readings for 2 hours for a room of like 30 people. And I will be doing more of those coming up. And I will be doing some bigger ones at some different bigger venues because these ones are selling out super fast. And I do have a manifesting class that's going to come up in May. It's going to be manifesting magic. It's probably going to be towards the end of May because I want to heal from my surgery that I'm having this week. So probably towards the end of May, we're going to do a manifesting magic class. My classes are awesome. I love the students that come. It will be an in-person class. So be prepared for that. And I just want you to know that I love you. I know I wouldn't be here without you. I owe everything to my clients, and I'm so grateful for all of you. And I'm so grateful that this helps you. And there's going to be awesome things still coming. I have more merch that we're trying to make, and I also have a retreat. I was actually in Island Park this last weekend, kind of just taking a chill, getting ready for the surgery and getting back to nature. You guys know that one of my favorite spiritual places is Island Park. So I needed to go there. And I had a lot of validation about some of the intuition things I was having about my own life. And so it was an amazing experience. And I will be going down to St. George, down or up. I'll be going to St. George to check some retreat stuff there. So if you have any ideas of where you would like to join me on a spiritual retreat, let me know. You can DM me, you can message me, you can email me. Let me know where you would like to go with me on our retreat. It's going to be awesome. So I love you guys so much. And remember, you have everything you need inside of you already. So you are so magical. And with that, I will see you guys next. If I don't see you next week, I'll see you the week after that. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you later.